Have you ever had a friend, let's call him Anthony, maybe ask you for advice about his love life? Things are bad in his relationship. They are toxic. And so you give him advice. You tell him, maybe you should break up. He then takes that advice and says, thank you. But the next day you see him posting videos with his girlfriend. Weird, right? Sort of frustrating too. I don't know what to call it, but Urban Dictionary calls these people assholes. They always ask you for advice, and then they do the opposite. And then a couple days later, Anthony asks somebody else for advice. Let's say his name's Mitch, and he says the same thing as you. Only this time, Anthony says, oh my god, that was the best advice ever. I should break up with her. And then he actually does. Now, as happy as you are that your friend is out of a bad relationship, the other side of you is like, what gives? I gave you that same advice 2 days ago, and you never did shit. Now, how many times are we in these type of situations? And this could be maybe because you heard it twice. Maybe Mitch made a more compelling argument. Maybe Mitch wants his girl. I mean, there are so many factors, and obviously because it's a made-up story, it could be anything. But I want to focus on what we can actually do so that people better respond to what you're saying. Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath is a practical resource on how to communicate effectively in a way that your message will influence and motivate people to take action. Let's get started. So to stick means understood, remembered, and with the capacity of making an impact. Today we'll be using the SUCCESS. That's the way you spell success. Bart Simpson. The first S stands for simple. Simple ideas stick. Complicated ones don't. To make your ideas simple, present the core of your idea. Share it in short form using the 6 principles. The author suggests you use an inverted pyramid of journalism, such as starting from the most important aspect, then add important details, and then add all the other background information. I particularly like the idea of commander intent. Very useful when you need people to act on your behalf in a big organization. For example, Disney calls the staff in their parks cast members, as it projects its parks as theaters. Disney doesn't need to explain why it's important to behave in certain ways to its employees. Being a cast member reminds everyone that they're always on stage. Letter 2. Unexpected. Letter U. Attention is key in making your message stick. We need to both get attention and keep it. As thinking slow and fast explains, our rational part of our brain only starts paying attention once something is out of the ordinary. So the key to get someone's attention is to break their patterns, or to surprise them. The Heath brothers suggest you identify your core message, present it in a counterintuitive way people don't expect. Introduce a mystery and explain it with your message. So I saw a presentation online before of a guy talking about sugar and why it's bad for you. I can't remember exactly, but he says something along the lines of, we consume about 130 pounds of sugar every year. And yeah, that fact was shocking, but it didn't really stick with me, clearly. What did stick though, and I remember this was probably 10 years ago I saw this presentation. He brings out a barrel of sugar and dumps it out on stage. After that, he says, this is how much we consume every year, and that really stuck with me. I still consciously think about what foods and how much sugar I'm taking, all because of that video I saw a long time ago. Letter 3. Concrete. The easier we can relate to something, the more we understand it and remember it. Concrete is something the senses can capture, and something we have already experienced. The Heath brothers say you must link a new idea to something familiar. For example, to introduce speed to Hollywood producers, you pitch it as Die Hard on a bus. An alien becomes Jaws on a spaceship. Last but not least, the Heath brothers say that our memory functions in the form of hooks. The more familiar and concrete hooks our message has, the easier it will be to remember. Letter 4. C. Credibility. To make your idea credible, the Heath brothers present a few different triggers. Authority, which is experts in the field of it. Anti-authority, people who experienced it firsthand, and the nefarious consequences like the bad effects of smoking. Details. The more details we hear, the more real it seems. Details are often a proxy for expertise. Statistics. Not the raw numbers though. Highlight relationships and contextualize them in a way that's human. The Sinatra test. If you've already done it in a difficult environment, you're credible to do it in an easier one. Testable experience. If they are experiencing it firsthand, they believe it more. This is Reagan asking, are you better off than you were 5 years ago? Or Wendy's, providing verifiable facts about their bigger burgers. A great example to contextualize a statistic. Imagine you have to explain how accurate a missile is. You can say that it can be shot from the sun and hit within a kilometer of the target. But to humanize it, you would say it goes from New York to LA and can hit within 5 centimeters. The distance has been humanized because people have no idea of the sun to earth distance. A great way to make your messages more credible is to have the audience test it themselves without knowing. For example, a non-profit picked up potential donors to meet them and then told them how successful they were in turning homeless people into honest workers. One of them was their own driver. Surprise, surprise. Emotion is all about making people care. People who care, act. The author quotes Mother Teresa when, paraphrasing, she said, "People will do for the one what they will not do for the many." The Heath brothers say, to call to action, you can appeal to number 1, self-interest, or WIFM. Use the word you, talk benefits to them and not feature, and let them imagine. Number 2, associations. Link something they care about to your message. And number 3, identify. Sometimes we don't pick what's best for us, but what's best for the group we belong to, or based on our ideal self-image. Letter 6, stories. Sticky ideas often use stories with simple plots that people can relate to, and that inspires us. The author says that the story lit in our brains the reenactment of the story, which burns it in our brain. The Heath brothers introduced 3 different types of stories. Number 1, a challenge plot. That's the underdog story, overcoming adversity, inspiring grit. Number 2, there's the connection plot. This is relationships, people overcoming discrimination and social gaps. And number 3, creativity plot. People moving around obstacles with ingenuity and smarts. These type of stories can also help lower the audience's guard. While pitching them your idea, often get people to look for cracks in the idea. A story will get them engaged and make them think for themselves. Epilogue. The author says this is not a checklist that will guarantee your idea will stick, but for sure it'll help. To make an idea stick, it must make the audience pay attention, that's the unexpected, understand and remember, that's the concrete, agree and believe, that's credible, care, which is emotional, and be able to act on it, which is the story. And that's all for today. I hope this helped. If you got value from this video, like it. If you have any interesting comments, comment it down below. And if you want more videos like this, subscribe and hit that notification bell. And if you did feel like supporting this channel in a huge way, there is a link down below to buy me a coffee, which I would love because that's the fuel I use for these late nights till 4 a.m. working on content for you. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Let's continue to move in silence.